when we heard, hey, do you want to have C. Thomas Howell
Yes.
on? That was it.
That was it.
That was it.
Yes.
Right. And then it's just like, hey, to support the fact that The Outsiders, made in 1983, is available today on 4K disc and digital today, the answer was yes. And we're thrilled to have here on the Rich Eisen Show, C. Thomas Howell on the Mercedes-Benz Vans phone line. How are you, C. Thomas Howell?
Rich, how are you, my man? Call me Tommy, please.
Okay, Tommy.
Tommy.
I was going to ask you that. Literally, it's the first question out of my. Does
Well,
anybody...
it's just torture having a name. Nobody knows what the hell to call you.
Well, what does the C stand for?
Christopher.
All right, Christopher Thomas Howell.
But it's a union thing. My father and I have the same name, and we're both in the same union. And as a young age, instead of being a junior, he tagged me with a C. And
I got it.
I didn't have a whole lot to say in it. But,
Okay.
Nobody's ever called me C.
Okay.
And I've always been called Tommy.
All right, Tommy. We have established all that. Those are the ground rules for the rest of this conversation. I love it. Before we get to The Outsiders, you were in E.T. at how old were you in E.T.?
I think about 13 when I did that.
My gosh. So that's your first movie? You're 13-year-old on the set with Spielberg and a Reese's Pieces eating extraterrestrial and a flying bike and all that stuff that ended up happening. What was that like for you back in the day?
That was, well, first of all, you have to understand my father is a stunt coordinator and was a stuntman his whole life. He's still active and working. So I grew up on sets, and it wasn't it wasn't a foreign thing for me when I started to audition and go in and meet these type of people. And also, Rich, you have to understand that my father was a professional bull rider for 12 years. So I grew up with a cowboy background. I was, planning on being a cowboy myself. So pressure to me back then was, I was roping and getting on bulls. Going in and meeting a guy talking about, making money to speak was like, that's not pressure at all, at that point. And as a kid, you've got no responsibilities. I had no bills. I had no worries. It was just immense fun. And the only reason I think I got the job was because that role was previously cast. And God knows why, but Spielberg wanted that character to smoke a cigarette in a scene, and the person they cast was a Mormon kid, and his mom was like, he's not going to smoke a cigarette. And I had the opportunity to go in the room and meet Steven, and when it got to the point about the cigarettes, my father, on the way down to the audition, had stopped by 7-Eleven, and we grabbed a couple of Marlboro packages, and I practiced lighting these cigarettes, and I pulled this crumpled cigarette out of my pocket that did a 90-degree turn, put it in my mouth, and tried to light it. And he was like, all right, kid, you got the part. So,
come on. That's it.
That's how it went down. And I, really planned on kind of doing stunts and not being an actor. But that led to me having an agent and the process of auditioning for The Outsiders, which was an enormous process. I mean, they saw every single person under the age of 20, I think, under the stars. And that began. And I was able to sort of get that role. And, you go, a lot of people think how great you go from Spielberg
to
Coppola, Rich, but I'm here to tell you it's all downhill from there, man. It's been
Come on. Because we had Rob Lowe on a couple of years ago, and he called it his college experience being there. Now, you were younger than a college age being on the set there, right? You were 15.
Oh, we all had a lot of firsts on that set, Rich. There was a lot of firsts for all of us, and it was there was a real fraternity.
That's what he called
atmosphere to some degree,
right.
And there was a real competitive sense because Coppola, being a bit of he was so smart, and he created a real competition between the Socs and the Greasers. We would have barbecues on weekends, basketball games planned. They'd show up and get out of a limousine with their matching jumpsuits, and we'd get out of a pass van with whatever we brought from home. They got leather binders. We got nothing. They stayed on the 16th, 17th floor. We were on the 3rd and the 4th. And they just created this sense of animosity that, of course, was, to some degree friendly, but trust me, when it was time to rumble, we were sticking them with a few. You know what I mean?
So yeah, so let's hit this. Normally, for these interviews with a celebrity, C. Thomas Howell, we'll ask you questions that we've read about your career personally online or on Wikipedia or whatever, and just do celebrity true or false in that regard. But I want to do a celebrity true or false on The Outsiders, certainly since in celebration of the 4K Ultra HD digital release of the film today. Hit it, please. We have a great production value to it as well. Hit it for C. Thomas Howell.
Celebrity true or false?
You can't handle the truth.
Okay, there you go, right there. First one up for you on Celebrity True or False for The Outsiders, C. Thomas Howell. The iconic film poster was supposed to be the Greasers being serious, but they're all shown laughing because Ralph Macchio made a joke about Leif Garrett standing off camera. True or false?
Very true.
Can you repeat the joke?
Real quick, I'll tell you what happened.
Sure, please.
So they have the socials standing off because they've done a couple of shots of them.
Mm-hmm.
We're there grabbing our shots, trying to go blue steel.
Yep.
And in comes the platter of sandwiches and deli meats and all that, and they put it down. And the young person bringing that in shouts out quite loudly, "Hey, this is for the talent only," which meant for the actors. Well, we go back to taking a few shots, and Leif, who wasn't in the room at that time, comes walking in and goes over to the sandwich, and Ralph blurts out quickly, "Hey, Leif, that's for the talent." And, of course, we all lost it, and they took a shot of that,
and
that was the infamous poster.
Wow. So what do we make of it that Emilio Estevez still didn't crack his blue steel? What do we make of that? He just didn't.
Yeah,
he's still.
man.
He's staring down. Maybe he wanted the sandwich. Maybe Leif took one of his sandwiches. Maybe that's what that is. Wow, I love that.
You never know about Emilio.
Okay, so that we already covered this, but I want to ask a little bit more for the purposes of this segment here. So it's true that during filming, the Socs were given leather-bound scripts. You were in more luxury accommodations than you. You just had paperback scripts, and you had to stay. You were on the third floor because this says ground floor of the hotel because Francis Ford Coppola wanted you guys to already hate each other for the scenes.
Yeah, no, I think I've ruined our game already.
That's okay. Okay. Basically he did
that's
that.
All true.
Well, did you guys really eventually throughout filming get jealous of the other guys for having better accommodations than you? Did that really genuinely piss you off? Did it work?
No, because Rich, it was like, it wasn't a movie about the Socs. You know what I mean? It was like they were all parading around with their leather-bound scripts. I was in front of the camera grabbing close-ups. You know what I mean? It was like,
sure.
I didn't care at all. I had stuff to do, brother. And at that point, it was like that's where the I wouldn't say I was mouthy, but I came from a very confident background. I mean, in 1979, 1980, 1981, I was California State all-around champion, junior rodeo, and that was what I was going to do. So, I wasn't afraid to run my mouth to somebody if that started, and I was pretty quick-witted. So, somebody like Leif Garrett having to listen to this little punk who's kind of, not taking any guff from the guy who's jamming to his own cuts in the back seat with his boombox was a pretty good thing to have to witness. So we had a real competitive sense that, was very interesting, and I feel kind of bad that it at times became that, because ultimately I think everybody loved each other, but it was really set up to some degree for us to feel that, and I think a really good director does that. All of the best directors create an environment for their actors to go into. And I think that's why filming it in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where it was written, was epic. It took everybody out of their own comfort zone. And, when you shoot a film or a TV show where you all live, there is no bonding after work. You all go back to your own lives and deal with your own stuff, and you bring all that crap with you to work the next day. Mm-hmm. But in a situation like this, we went back home together, and we were working together. And I remember Rob Lowe and Patrick Swayze, rest his soul. I did 3 pictures with Patrick. I did Red Dawn with him, which was epic. And we did something that probably nobody ever saw called Grandview USA with Jamie Lee Curtis. And he was like a real brother to me. A quick tale about Patrick.
Please.
My father was a stunt coordinator on a movie called Urban Cowboy.
I've heard of that.
Travolta, about riding the bucking machine, if you guys remember, 78, 79. And Patrick Swayze's mother, Patsy Swayze, was the dance choreographer on that film. Patrick was on that set working with John a little bit with his 2-step.
Come on.
And I was there riding the bucking machine to help John sort of advance along and get over the fear of it when he saw this little kid riding it, because my dad brought me down and I would ride this bucking machine. And I met Patrick when I was about, I guess 11, 12 years old.
Amazing.
On the set of Urban Cowboy, was hanging out with him and his family probably 2-3 years before The Outsiders ever even came around. And then we did 3 pictures together.
Travolta already had his Saturday Night Fever moment, and we know, obviously, Swayze's maneuvers from Dirty Dancing. Are you telling me that Swayze helped him with moves on Urban Cowboy? Is that what you're saying?
I'm telling you that Swayze was a big part of teaching John that 2-step with Deborah Winger in that movie. And he also, because John was beyond with the dancing. But to be really clear, Patrick stood in for John and would work with Deborah on her dancing as John, because John was advanced and ready to go. You know, he was amazing. You're not going to really teach him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Once he learned the steps, he was money. But there was still a process getting Deborah there, and there's still a bit of a process just teaching John the steps. And Swayze was a big part of that.
How about that? Celebrity, true or false?
Swayze was an overachiever, man. Swayze was a classic overachiever, and in the most beautiful way. I have to tell you, he just, the guy wanted to play the guitar and sing, #1 song. And I'll tell you this is how brilliant the guy is. So a real quick Red Dawn story.
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer Grey, who was in Dirty Dancing, played Baby.
Mm-hmm.
The two of them didn't get along great, to be honest with you, on Red Dawn. In fact, Rich, there was a love scene written in Red Dawn between Swayze's character and Jennifer Grey's character, and Swayze really did not want to do it, and he offended her deeply. And it got down to the fact that they had to go to the directors, and Milius had already worked with Swayze on Uncommon Valor, so they were pretty tight, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Swayze just felt it wasn't appropriate for the film. He says it's not going to move this story forward. It's not about that. And it was a big scene for her, a lot of dialogue, and a big moment. So she was really bent out of shape. And we had about 2 or 3 weeks of shooting left, and the two of them didn't really speak much. And I know she did not appreciate what he had done there, but he stuck to his guns and didn't feel it was appropriate. And I think he was right. Here you go. Cut to, right? A couple years later, she's cast first in the role as Baby in Dirty Dancing. They're searching up and down for this guy Johnny, right, to play the role opposite her. They can't find the guy. They're looking everywhere. Could you imagine the look on her face when they finally say, "Guess what? We found your guy."
How about...
Oh my Lord, you're gonna love this. It's your friend Patrick Swayze. The look on her face must have been, oh my God, man. And what did Swayze do? He turned that crap around, man. He made an amazing movie, and everybody, that was a huge hit, that little movie.
Of course. So he put Baby in a corner before Baby was put in a corner. That's what you're saying.
You ain't lying.
Oh,
You ain't lying. And, he just had the ability to do that. He was just a classic overachiever, You could just say, hey, I got a butterfly net. I'm going to try catching butterflies. He'd be like, well, I went to the Olympics in '68 in butterfly catching.
Wow. I never got to meet Patrick Swayze. I have met Jennifer Grey out here in Los Angeles. She's a delightful person. She's a delightful person I've ever met.
You would have loved Patrick. He was a great guy.
I bet. All right. So returning to The Outsiders, Celebrity, True or False, I've got a couple left here. In the Rumble scene, you were the first guy punched, and you got cold cocked. It was a real punch. True or false?
Very true story. So I'll try to answer that quickly.
Sure.
We had choreographed for about 3-4 weeks this extensive stunt fight, this elaborate sort of melee with a bunch of people. And I had, a pretty good exchange, few judo chops and some karate kicks and whatever you do, right? So I was practicing all that stuff, getting ready to do it. We show up on the first night. It's a 3-night shoot, this whole Rumble. The first night is sort of the introduction, getting us all lined up and staring each other down, bringing everybody to each other and kind of picking sides and saying, I'll take you, I take you. The next night was going to be the real beginning of the fight. The first night we get there, Rich, it's pouring rain. And we're like, what the hell are we going to do? We shoot the whole thing in the pouring rain. We come back the next night. There's no rain, but there's a fire department there with hoses, just, smiles, squirting us all night as we begin to rumble. The very first punch thrown was from a friend of mine named Reed Rondell. He comes from a very well-known stunt family called the Rondell family. He throws the first punch and slips in the mud and tagged me on the chin for real. And down I went. As this melee took place, we cut. I go over to Francis. I'm like, Francis, we got to do it again. I didn't get to do, the judo chops and the flips and the rolls and all that stuff. He's like, no, it looked like you got pounded in the face and you went down in the mud. It was great. I said, yeah, that's what happened. He said, yeah, but that's what happened. Now you got Matt Dillon dragging me out of the damn thing. I never got to throw a punch. I just took one to the chin and dropped, and that's what happened to Ponyboy in the damn Rumble. That was my big shiny moment, brother.
Last one for you here. In the scene, the fountain scene where Leif Garrett attempts to drown you, Ponyboy, apparently later on after filming, the 6 other outsiders jokingly mocked the scene in the lobbies, the hotel that you were staying in, the lobby fountain of the hotel, trying to drown each other playfully, and the hotel removed the fountain after that. Is that a true story?
Yeah. Well, I will tell you this. That first part did happen, and that fountain did disappear. Now, why, I don't know. Was it connected? It makes for a good story, Rich.
Well, the writer of the S.E. Hinton is the person who told this story, that the hotel had the fountain removed within weeks because they didn't want you.
That's hilarious. And let me tell you one thing I learned. Do not mess with S.E. Hinton, period. That's it. What a great woman she was. And imagine this, writing this thing when you're 17 years old in high school like she did.
So basically, I guess made you learn something from Celebrity True or False based on this film.
You did.
How about that? Because Rob Lowe also said he told us he turned 18 during filming, and you totally hazed him in his hotel room, like you saran wrapped his toilet.
I think we did. We did some good stuff to him. It was a prank oriented set. A lot of things happened. It was I do recall sort of taking a fire hydrant and unscrewing the eyepiece that you look through your, to see who's on the other side. And for some reason, in this hotel, you could unscrew it from the outside. And I just pumped a bunch of, extinguisher smoke into his room and phoned him and said there was a fire. And, man, he came jetting downstairs with his camera and in his skivvies and nothing else. And we had a pretty good laugh at that. But they got to me, too. They all pranked me pretty good. I remember one time I went home at 4 in the morning and everything in my room was turned upside down. My bed, everything, upside down. It was horrible. I wanted to go to sleep so bad. And I had to go get another room for the day for them to fix my room. No. Things like that were happening all the time.
Last one.
Back then, you could do that stuff, Rich. Now,
I guess so.
Now I sit in the corner. I'm quiet. I can't say anything, man. You used to maybe be able to say something inappropriate occasionally for a laugh. Now, man, you are on your best behavior. There is no jokes anymore, brother.
Last one for you. You want to ask it, T.J. Jefferson, Rich Eisen social media Grand Racer?
Sure, I'll do that.
Show? Go for it.
Hey, Tommy, I just want to say I'm loving this interview. The Outsiders, Red Dawn, 2 of my favorite movies. I couldn't even tell you how much I watch those 2 flicks. But
awesome.
I'm reading that Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Cam Neely. Were they in the movie with you guys as well, or is that a false?
Uncredited socials. Is that true? That's false?
That's false, yeah.
Okay.
That's what
we got a false
Flea of Red Hot Chili Peppers and the great Cam Neely.
They have it in IMDb.
I think Cam Neely was in Kingpin, though. I think Cam Neely was in
Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber. Yeah. Okay, that's very good. Hey, man, C. Thomas Howell, this has been great.
Rich, I'm a big fan. Thanks for having me on the show.
Right back at you, man. Congrats on everything that's gone on in your career, and I appreciate you going down memory lane with me here. Appreciate it.
Can't wait to meet you someday, man. Keep at it.
Okay, Tommy. There you go. That's C. Thomas Howell right there on the Rich Eisen Show. The Outsiders. Go get it. I mean, those photographs are unbelievable that we just were popping on the screen right there. Unbelievable. Diane Lane was in it, too.
Yeah. Yes.
And Diane Lane is just one of my favorites of all time. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.